Let me ask you something. How much interest did your savings account pay you last year? Go ahead. Think about it. $50, maybe 80. I'll tell you what that means. It means you did everything right. And the bank did even better. I opened my first savings account in 1968. I was 20 years old. The branch manager shook my hand like I'd done something heroic. "Son," he said, "you're building your future." I walked out feeling like a genius. 6 months later, I did the math. I had made $11. $11. For 6 months of discipline, sacrifice, and saying no to things I actually wanted. That was the day I realized saving money and building wealth are two completely different games. And nobody, not my father, not that branch manager, not a single teacher in 12 years of school, had ever told me which game I was actually playing. You're probably playing the wrong one right now. Here's what I mean. Take $10,000 sitting in a typical savings account earning 1% interest. After 1 year, $10,100. Fine. Feels responsible, feels safe. Now take that same $10,000 and put it into an index fund tracking the S&P 500. Historically, over long periods, that market has returned around 10% annually. After 1 year, $11,000. Same money, $900 more. For doing nothing differently except where you put it. But 1 year isn't the point. The point is 20 years. Savings at 1%, $12,200. Investing at 10%, $67,000. Same starting amount, same discipline, same person, $55,000 separating them. And the only variable, where the money sat. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, "Ryan, investing is risky. Savings accounts don't go down. My money is safe there." And you're right. Savings accounts don't go down. They just quietly, slowly, politely lose to inflation every single year while you feel responsible for having them. That's not safety. That's a very comfortable way of going nowhere. I've sat across from people, doctors, engineers, small business owners, who saved diligently for 20 years and arrived at 60 wondering why the number wasn't bigger. Smart people, disciplined people, people who did everything they were told. They saved. They just never made the transition. And the transition is what we're talking about today. Before I tell you how to invest, I need to tell you something nobody in finance likes to admit. Most people never make the transition from saving to investing. Not because they're lazy, not because they're bad at math, because saving feels safe and investing feels like a threat. When your money sits in a savings account, you can see it. It doesn't move. It doesn't drop 5% on a random Tuesday afternoon because some politician said something ambiguous in a press conference. It just sits there, calm, predictable, completely yours. Investments move, sometimes up, sometimes down. And that movement, that daily, visible, unavoidable fluctuation, triggers something primal in the human brain. I've watched it happen to intelligent people my entire career. Market dips 3% and suddenly a person who spent 40 years building discipline is considering selling everything because the number on the screen went in the wrong direction for 4 days. You know what I call that? Expensive feelings. Here's what the transition actually looks like. Not the theory. The real sequence. Step 1. Before you invest a single dollar, you need a real emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of living expenses sitting in cash, untouched. Not for opportunities. Not for anything that sounds exciting. Only for the moment life does what life does. And I'll tell you why this step matters more than any investment strategy I could give you. The number one reason people panic sell investments at exactly the wrong moment is not stupidity. It's not fear of markets. It's that they needed the money for something real. A car repair, a medical bill, a month without income. And the investment account was the only place it existed. An emergency fund doesn't just protect your cash, it protects your investments from yourself. Step 2. Separate these two things in your mind permanently. Saving money and investing money are not the same activity with different interest rates. They are fundamentally different jobs. Savings protect what you have. Investments grow what you have. Two buckets. Two different purposes, two completely different emotional relationships. The moment you stop treating them as the same thing, the anxiety about investing drops dramatically. Because you're no longer risking your security, you're deploying your surplus. Step 3. Start small. Embarrassingly small if necessary. I know a man, sharp, successful, now in his late 50s, who delayed investing for 11 years because he was waiting until he had enough to make it worthwhile. By the time he started, the decade he lost to waiting had cost him more than any bad investment could have. Most brokerage platforms today allow you to start with $50. $50 is not the point. The habit is the point. Because habits, real financial habits, take between 18 months and 2 years to become automatic. And the earlier you start building the habit, the longer the habit has to work for you. Step 4. Start with simple investments. This is where beginners destroy themselves. They hear about investing, they get excited, and they immediately start researching options trading and cryptocurrency and sector rotation strategies and whatever else was trending on financial forums that week. Stop. Index funds. That's where you start. An index fund tracks the overall market. Instead of trying to pick which companies win, you own a small piece of hundreds of companies at once. Diversification built in. Low fees. Long-term growth that has outperformed the vast majority of professional fund managers over 30-year periods. Warren Buffett, a man who has spent his entire life trying to beat the market, has repeatedly said that low-cost index funds are the right choice for most investors. When the person who spent 60 years finding exceptions to the rule tells you the rule works, you listen. Now, the part that will actually determine whether any of this works for you. Psychology, not strategy, not selection. Psychology. Let me give you the analogy that changed how I think about this. Saving money is like storing seeds in a jar. You're protecting them. Nothing can take them. Nothing can damage them. And nothing can grow from them either. They just sit there, perfectly preserved, doing absolutely nothing. And investing is like planting those seeds in soil. At first it looks worse. It's messy. You can't see what's happening underground. Some days it rains. Some days something goes wrong. But given time, real time, not impatient time, you end up with something that could never have come from a jar. The jar is comfortable. The soil is where the outcome actually lives. Here's the number that makes this undeniable. Invest $300 a month. Consistent. Every month. No exceptions. At 8% average annual return, which is conservative by historical standards, after 25 years you have approximately $285,000. Of that $285,000, you personally contributed $90,000. The remaining $195,000 came from your money working, not you. Your money. That's the transition. That's what happens when seeds stop sitting in a jar. Now, I know the next objection. It's always the same one. What if the market crashes right after I start? Let me tell you something I learned the hard way in 1974. The year the market dropped 45%. I was 26 years old. I had just started investing. I watched my small portfolio lose almost half its value in under a year. It was the most financially terrifying 12 months of my life. I didn't sell. Not because I was brave. Because I was stubborn and slightly too proud to admit I'd made a mistake by starting. By 1979, that same portfolio had more than recovered. By 1984, it was 4 times what I'd originally put in. The people who panic sold in 1974 locked in their losses permanently. The market recovered, their accounts didn't, because they weren't in the market when the recovery happened. Here's what nobody tells beginners about market crashes. Long-term investors don't just survive crashes. When your monthly contribution stays constant and prices drop, every purchase buys more shares at lower prices. The crash is a sale. And when markets recover, which historically they always have eventually, you recover at full price on shares you bought at a discount. This is why experienced investors don't panic during downturns. It's not because they're fearless, it's because they've done the math. Let me bring this back to where we started. You have money sitting in a savings account. You feel responsible. You feel disciplined. You feel like you're doing the right thing, and you are? Partially. The emergency fund stays. Protect that. Never touch it. That's your foundation. But the money beyond that foundation, the surplus you keep accumulating because you're disciplined and you live below your means, that money is sitting in a jar. And it's been sitting there, losing ground to inflation while you wait for the right moment to plant it. I'll tell you something I've told clients for 5 decades. There is no right moment. There is only the moment you start. And the moment you start is always, without exception, better than the moment after it. The math is not complicated. The discipline is not complicated. The strategy, index funds, consistent contributions, time, patience, is not complicated. What's complicated is tolerating the discomfort long enough for simple to work. But here's what's on the other side of that discomfort. The savings account keeps you stable. The investment account sets you free. And the earlier you understand the difference between those two sentences, not intellectually, but in how you actually move your money, the more of your financial life gets to be about choices instead of obligations. That's the transition. It's not dramatic. It doesn't happen on one particular day. It happens gradually, month by month, contribution by contribution, until one morning you open your app and the growth column is bigger than the deposits column. And on that morning, you'll understand exactly what that branch manager in 1968 should have told me instead of shaking my hand. He should have said, saving is where you start. Investing is where you finish.